Friends, a very good morning. The topic which I am going to discuss is human reproductive system. There are, as I have already told, two types of reproduction, that is asexual and sexual reproduction. Asexual basically takes place in, for example, like for example, if I talk about hydrilla and flatworms, and sexual reproduction basically occurs in humans. Through sexual reproduction, there is a fusion of male and female sex cell or gametes. They form a zygote, which later develops into a new organism. This process is known as fertilization, also, right? Not sexual reproduction. The fusion of gametes is known as fertilization, so don't get confused. Fertilization is of two types: external fertilization and internal fertilization. External fertilization basically takes place outside the body of an organism, for example, in fishes and frogs. And internal fertilization basically takes place inside the body of an organism, that is, in humans. All these processes occurs in female. Now, male reproductive system. The organs of the male reproductive system are your scrotal sac, urethra, scrotum, penis, and testis. Sperms are the male reproductive sex cells which are produced by testis. Testis is located outside the abdomen in a sac-like structure called scrotum. The sperms travel from the sperm duct into the urethra, which is a hollow tube-like structure through which the urine gets passed. Now, as the sperms passes through the sperm duct, the secretions from the accessory gland gets mixed with them. This mixture is known as semen. Penis is the male reproductive organ. It discharges sperms which are received by the vagina of the female body. It also discharges urine too. Now, female reproductive system. It consists of the ovaries, vagina, uterus, fallopian tube, and the oviduct. Ovaries are almond-sized shaped glands which are located in the hip region. They produce eggs or ova. When an egg is mature enough, it passes through a funnel-shaped muscular tube known as fallopian tube or the oviduct. Then it moves to the uterus. Uterus lies lower the abdomen, above and behind the urinary bladder. Uterus is a hollow, muscular, pear-shaped like organ. It keeps the zygote within itself. The lower part of the uterus is known as the cervix. The cervix is narrow and opens to the vagina. The vagina receives the sperms. It serves as a birth canal through which the baby gets delivered. Now, ovulation and menstruation. When an egg is released from an ovary, it is known as ovulation. One egg is released in 1 month. It is basically a 28-day long reproductive cycle known as the menstrual cycle. On the 14th day of the cycle, ovulation occurs. But before ovulation occurs, the walls of the uterus are thickened to increase the supply of the blood to receive the fertilized egg. If the egg is not fertilized, it gets escaped split out of the uterus along with the uterine wall and blood. And on the 28th day of the cycle, the lining of the uterus breaks and blood gets discharged with the tissues. This process of flow of blood with the tissues is known as menstruation. Menstruation basically it marks the end of the menstrual cycle within 3 to 5 days. But if the egg is fertilized, it gets transplanted into the uterus for further development and the mother becomes pregnant. Menstruation basically occurs till the age of 50. After that, the menstrual cycle stops permanently and the mother is not able to bear the child. This phenomenon is known as menopause. Now, about fertilization. Fertilization basically occurs in the fallopian tube or the oviduct. The sperms which are received by the vagina swim up to the oviduct. An ovary is basically, this is a very important line, an ovary is produced by a single sperm. The zygote which is formed as a result of this, see, and that is being slow. Ovary is produced by a single sperm. The zygote which is formed as a result of it through the process of fertilization is a single cell which consists of both the chromosomes, that is male and female, and it inherits the characteristics of both male and female. After that, it gets transplanted from the oviduct to the uterus for further development. When the zygote develops into an individual, it is known as development. Zygote undergoes various division of cells and forms ball of cells. This ball gets transplanted into the uterine wall. Now this ball again passes through a division of cells. There is change in shape, size, and it forms new type of cells like nerve cells and blood cells. From these, the tissues and the organ gets transplanted in various parts of the organ system of the baby. Now, from the third week of development till the second month, the developing organism is known as an embryo. Then, from the third month until the birth, the developing organism is known as the fetus. The fetus is connected to the uterus through a structure known as placenta. It is a cord-like structure. It supplies essential nutrients to the fetus and prevents the mixing of the mother's and the child's blood. The fetus is connected to the placenta through a cord known as umbilical cord. It is having a sac-like membrane known as amnion. The amnion has amniotic fluid which protects the child from germs. Now, the time period between the fertilization and development is known as pregnancy. The pregnancy lasts in a human for about 280 days or 9 months. With this chapter is finished. Now I will tell you some facts. Now, a sperm is basically usually a single cell with all components. The male reproductive or the reproductive organs such as testes and ovaries, they are known as gonads, like male gonads and female gonads. Similarly, the male sex hormone which is released by the testes is known as the testosterone. The female sex hormone which is released by the ovary is known as the estrogen and the progesterone. Now, in some animals, such as swamps and bees and all, the unfertilized egg develops into an individual. This process is known as parentogenesis. This also occurs in some reptiles also. Now, sometimes what happens that there is change in shape, color, and body shape of same organism or different organisms of the same species. So is known as sexual dimorphism, right? For example, we humans are only there. We are having different shape, different complexion, though we belong to the same species. Yet we have different features. This phenomena is known as sexual dimorphism. It occurs in birds like pea flows where the males are having the bright color feathers but the females are not having. With this, the chapter is finished. I hope that you must have understood, but to understand this chapter, you have to read it thrice and twice to make it clear. Thank you. Have a nice day.